He was more than a star. He was a phenomenon, a voice that didn't just fill rooms, it defined an era. Crowds didn't just listen to him, they felt him. Every movement, every note, every glance, it all carried something electric. His name became a symbol of fame, of power, of a life that seemed untouchable. But behind the spotlight, behind the screaming fans and flashing cameras, there was another story, a quieter one, a darker one. And it didn't begin with a scandal. It didn't begin with a headline. It began with a moment, a phone call. No one recorded it, no one leaked it, but those who were close to him would later say something changed after that day. Something subtle, but irreversible. At the time, everything still looked perfect. Sold-out shows, standing ovations, a career that on the surface was still shining. But underneath, cracks were already forming. The industry around him was evolving. The expectations were growing heavier, and the pressure was becoming constant. He wasn't just performing anymore. He was carrying something that couldn't be seen on stage. And then came the call. It wasn't dramatic, no shouting, no chaos, just a voice on the other end, calm, controlled, businesslike, talking about schedules, commitments, money. But beneath the surface, there was a different message, a message that didn't need to be said out loud. You don't stop. You don't slow down. You don't walk away. That call didn't end anything overnight, but it locked something into place. From that moment on, there was no turning back. The pace intensified. More shows, more appearances, more demands. Rest became rare. Silence became uncomfortable. And slowly, almost invisibly, he began to change. The energy that once seemed limitless started to flicker. The confidence began to fade into something else. Fatigue, isolation, a kind of quiet pressure that never really left. To the audience, he was still the same, still powerful, still captivating, but those closest to him noticed the difference. He wasn't just tired, he was trapped. Not by a single person, not by a single decision, but by a system that needed him to keep going, no matter the cost. And so he did, night after night, city after city, performance after performance, each one demanding everything he had left. And when that wasn't enough, there were other ways to keep going, ways to stay awake, ways to fall asleep, ways to push through the exhaustion. At first, it seemed manageable, controlled, temporary, but over time, it became something else, something heavier, something harder to escape. The line between choice and necessity began to blur, and the man who once controlled the stage was slowly losing control of himself. There are stories from those years, stories of long silences, of distant stares, of moments where he seemed somewhere else entirely, as if part of him had already stepped away. But the world didn't see that. The world saw the legend, the icon, the king who could do no wrong. And maybe that was the problem, because when everyone sees you as untouchable, no one notices when you start to fall. Or maybe they do, but by then, it's easier to look away. The machine kept moving. The shows continued. The expectations never lowered. And the distance between who he was and who he had to be grew wider every day. Until one day, it stopped. August 16th, 1977. The news spread fast. Shock, confusion, disbelief. How could someone so powerful just be gone? But the truth is, it didn't happen in a single moment. It didn't begin that morning. It didn't begin the night before. It began long before that. In small decisions, in quiet pressures, in moments no one thought would matter. And maybe, in that one phone call, the one that didn't sound dangerous, the one that didn't feel like an ending, but set everything in motion. We often look for a single cause, a single mistake, a single turning point, because it's easier that way. But sometimes, the end isn't a moment. It's a process, a slow unraveling. And by the time we recognize it, there's nothing left to stop. The legend remains. The music lives on. The image is still frozen in time, strong, confident, unforgettable. But behind that image was a man who gave everything he had until there was nothing left to give. And the question still lingers, not how it ended, but when it truly began. Was it the pressure, the system, the expectations, or was it that quiet moment when the phone rang and everything started to change? Maybe we'll never know, but one thing is certain. Some stories don't collapse all at once. They fade, slowly, silently, until the world finally notices that something is missing. And by then, it's already too late.